right, greetings Cyclone Hockey fans, and welcome to this episode of the Al Murdoch Show. I'm your host, Kevin Way, and I'm joined by the namesake of the show, as you see, Cyclone Hockey General Manager and Head Coach, Dr. Al Murdoch, and also, special guest for at least the first segment, Associate Head Coach, Al McDonald. Coach Murdoch, as always, I'll let you have a comment before we get the ball rolling.
Oh, man, live. Big week, couple of weeks ahead of us here. The last home series, senior night, Friday night. We're expecting big crowds. State high school tournament is in town, so just lots of hockey action in Ames, Iowa.
Absolutely. As Coach touched upon, we have a great show in store. We'll be joined later by Cyclone player David Elliston. You could call him forward defenseman or a all-around utility player. We'll also preview this weekend, as Coach mentioned, the series against Waldorf for senior weekend, senior night, particularly on Friday. But we also have the Central States Collegiate Hockey League Tournament to review here in this first segment. Coach, unfortunately, the team's, I guess I'll call it boomerang experience with the tournament this year, 12 hours out to Ohio University, play Illinois. That didn't go as you would have liked. The 5-1 loss, then immediately thereafter, after a quick supper, 12 hours back. And a single elimination tournament, of course. I guess in your mind, what were some of the things that were the factors in the team's performance or lack of performance, or however you want to look at it?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. Yes, it was a healthy bus ride out there, but we've had those bus rides before. Yes, Illinois got a little bit of an advantage, on the power play, and we took a few penalties maybe we shouldn't have taken, but we've been there before. And the beauty of it is that that's a single game, not the national tournament. Guys all learn from that if they play like that at the national tournament, it'll be one and done as well, and a long bus ride home. So you don't necessarily reward teams in situations like that. Everybody knew as soon as we lose a game, we'll grab a bite to eat and head home. And it happened to be, a few short hours after we arrived there. But that gets the guys home. I think everybody got home. Everybody got to hit books a little bit extra with midterm week coming up this week and next week. I think it's important that we focus on academics, but at the same time, it's helped us refocus in practice already this week with that stinger against Illinois.
It's Coach McDonald, in your eyes, in your vantage point, and no doubt having gone over the video at least once, if not 2 or 3 times, what were some of the breakdowns? And Coach Murdoch, of course, touched on some of them, but some of the breakdowns that led to the loss in your mind.
Oh, I think I thought our possession game was okay north to south, but I don't think we were attacking the net very well. You can hold on to the puck on the outskirts all you want, but until you take it to the net, you're not going to score any goals. And you know what? A occurring theme, our special teams right now have been a little bit inconsistent, and they were against Illinois, and they capitalized. I believe they were 3 for 5 or 3 for 6, and we were 0 for 3, I believe it was, on the power play. So whatever the exact stats were, we weren't good enough. And today's game is special teams. You need to score.
Certainly, the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
Coach Murdoch, you touched upon this already, but talk more about obviously the wake-up call, the experience that the Central States Collegiate Hockey League Tournament provided to the players, especially since so many of them are freshmen and haven't experienced a CSCHL tournament, let alone an ACHA tournament where the stakes are really high.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Everybody in the Central States League steps it up a notch when it comes to the league playoff. I've always considered the league playoff as big, if not bigger, than the national tournament in quality of play and the game being physical and the hard shots and special teams. And I think it was a pretty good wake-up call for our whole team, but in particular the freshman class saw something they didn't see before. Illinois was a step quicker. They took advantages of the opportunities that were given to them, and they played a very smart game.
Certainly. Coach McDonald, coming from Canada, especially the Western Hockey League portion of Canada, where long bus rides are commonplace. What are some of the things maybe that, obviously unfortunately these losses on the Fridays involve the overnight trips have happened more than once this season. What are some of the things that the players can do, to prepare for that, both physically and mentally, to overcome it?
Well, I think number one, they can't use the bus as an excuse. I mean, us and 30 other million teams out there are traveling by bus, and you have to adapt, and you have to be able to do that. And And I think, you know, and I don't want to say it as an excuse, but with the freshmen, I mean, it takes some time to go to school Monday through Thursday. I mean, these guys are coming from junior A, where they maybe didn't start their day until 2 o'clock, and now they're going to school all day, and then all of a sudden they have to jump on a bus, and that takes some experience. And you know, one of my favorite sayings out there is experience is overrated till you have it, and that's what we're getting right now, and that's what these guys have to go through, is that type of process.
Certainly. Thankfully, with the national tournament, the team will once again be traveling overnight on Thursday, but the team gets to have the practice Friday afternoon, then the opportunity to rest quite a bit, you know, if they take advantage of it, Friday night, Saturday, heading into that Saturday game at the national tournament against Oklahoma. That's already set with the rankings. So I guess how much do you rest any easier knowing that they'll be able to have that extra preparation, both in terms of the practice, the game, the day before, and then also with the rest time?
Yeah, I think it's a case where, you know, as a university athlete, they have to focus on academics and on hockey. With the national tournament, with practice time being provided the day before the tournament starts, actually there'll be 8 teams that will practice probably on the Thursday, play their preliminary play-in round on Friday, and then the other 12 teams will have the opportunity to practice Friday with their first round games, actually second round, with a bye on the first day. So believe it or not, with our 8th ranking, we got a bye in the first round, and we get to practice on that day on Friday. We'll practice at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. We'll leave Thursday night. We'll go by sleeper bus. The guys are pretty used to it now, so they'll actually get in there and almost be ready to play on Friday afternoon. We'll have what I call a game day type skate, game day type practice, 45-minute practice only. But it'll be upbeat and it'll be high speed, and the guys will leave the ice looking for more. They'll be hungry for more. So by the time Saturday rolls around, we'll be hungry. But at the same time, I know Oklahoma well enough. They'll be well prepared too. They've got a good coach. They've got a good staff. They've been playing very well. They probably feel like they're stinging a little bit in that they're ranked 9th and we're ranked 8th. But at the same time, at the national tournament, I want to be the higher-ranked team any chance we have. And the first game is the only one that we'll have in that situation. You know, people have already said to me, you realize who you're playing round 2 if you win round 1. And I said, I don't care. Bring them all on. Bring on the best. So Penn State is the likely opponent on round 2, but we aren't going to look beyond Oklahoma until we get to that point.
Certainly. Speaking of teams playing well, I'll probably give a little bit of a shout-out to our ACHA Men's Division 3 team. This past weekend in Lincoln, they won both of their games at regionals and have now advanced to the D3 national tournament. So both Cyclone Hockey teams making that jump. I guess kind of what's your reaction to the success of that team, and I guess kind of what does it mean for Cyclone Hockey?
Yeah, I think it's something that we've had here at Iowa State for many years. Actually, in the early 70s, we had the varsity equivalent team and a junior varsity team. And that junior varsity team played in the men's league, the adult league in Des Moines. And we wanted to try to upgrade that, and they played in the Iowa Collegiate and then a more of a regional type league over the past few years. It's grown a little bit more than perhaps we can afford right now, because with only one sheet of ice, the D1 team is the one that gets to play in front of the fans. Excuse me, sell tickets and do all of that. So we have to kind of keep an eye on it. But at the same time, you'll see a guest later on in the show that experienced the D3 experience. And it's exactly what I want. I want them to experience Division III, play to the best of their ability, be one of the best, then move up to the D1 team. And David Elliston, our guest later on in the show, is a great example of that.
I can certainly say from experience, it provides a player an excellent experience to play 30 collegiate games you wouldn't otherwise play otherwise, and it's a great experience. So hopefully your experience watching the show tonight's been going well. We encourage you to stay tuned. After the break, we'll talk with, as Coach mentioned, David Elliston, and then later in the program, we'll preview this weekend's upcoming series against the up-and-coming interstate budding rival Waldorf College. So thanks so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after these brief messages.
suntan
just moved
lotion.
in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
ISU TV is a student-run television station that provides student-generated content for Mediacom Channel 18. Production and filming of shows takes place at Studio B in the Communications Building. Shows range from news, sports, comedy, weather, to talk show formats.
There's so many different things outside of just journalism and broadcasting that you can do it at ISU TV. If you want to be a writer, you can write. If you want to be on TV, you can do that. We work with equipment. If you want to do, anything as far as multimedia is related, you have so many different options.
Anytime during the semester, they're welcome to get involved with any of the shows that ISU TV puts on air, and they're going to get trained by their peers. If they don't feel comfortable doing that, they can take any of our classes, writing classes, production classes. They can do packages and do the entire thing from A to Z.
To find out how you can get involved with ISU TV, visit our website at isutv.stuorg.iastate.edu.
David Elliston on that.
All right, welcome back to the Al Murdoch Show, Cyclone fans. Kevin Way, your host here, joined by Cyclone Hockey General Manager and Head Coach Dr. Alan Murdoch, HC, and now on your screen, Cyclone forward / defenseman / all-around hustling player David Elliston. David, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Coach, I probably should have asked you this during the first segment. Of course, normally we were joined by the Player of the Week this week's Brandon Clark. Brandon, unable to join us this week. Let's talk a little bit about what earned Brandon Clark Player of the Week for this week.
Yeah, Brandon, just a good all-around player. No matter what the end result of the game is, he plays hard all the time. He's one of our point leaders on the team this year, and he's leading the way on defense. He's got power play goals. He's gotten a lot of assists. He's just playing good all-around hockey, and even in a 5-1 loss to Illinois, he still had an outstanding game, and I think he was on the plus side of the column. We had members of our World University Games staff at the Central States Tournament this weekend looking at all 7 teams, and Brandon Clark's name was at the top of the list as one of the top defensemen in the tournament this weekend, even in a losing cause. So it makes a guy like Brandon and all of his teammates want to work all that much harder, knowing that there can be scouts, so to speak, in the stands. Scott Balboni is not coaching this year with Penn State, but will be the head coach. So he's on the road a lot, and he'll be at all these tournaments. Brian Moran helps pull together all the pieces for the World Games. So, Brandon is one of the people. He was at the tryouts the last go-around 2 years ago, performed very well. I thought, was right on the bubble being selected that time. Kurbatsky performed very well, and I thought he looked real good, and it'd be my hope that he would have a shot again. Guys like Kazak and Buttermore, of course, with a lot of points, and Feeble with a lot of points. I'd like to see them get a good look, and a guy like Matt Bennett moves the puck really well. And we've got a lot of other players that are real good, but some of our Canadians can't qualify for the Team USA. They have to be Americans. And Antti Alanto, he can't qualify for Team USA either, but at the same time, I may struggle a little bit, but I'll probably recommend him for the Team Finland at the World University Games. So it'd be kind of the good news and the bad news. The good news would be having some of our players gone to the World Games. The bad news is it would leave us a little short-handed back home. So we have to recruit. We have to count on our Division III team to maybe have some players available to move up. We can move players up for 3 games, and there may be a little bit more of that this next year. And I think Brandon Clark earned Player of the Week, because he represents all the things that the World University Games staff looks for to have on Team USA.
You mentioned D3 players moving up. David, his first year, played on the D3 team, then transitioned that into playing with the D1 team last year and again this year. Talk a bit about David as a player and what he offered last year than also this year.
You bet. We've had players from all over the world on our teams at Iowa State, but what I consider a hockey hotbed in the Midwest is Omaha, and that's where David played a majority of his hockey. He had pretty good credentials coming in. The first credential we always look at is academics, and he's a strong student. He was a bubble player when he tried out. In other words, do you want to play fifth line, D1, or maybe first unit on D3 and look at the idea of moving up? Well, he exercised that option, or I can't remember if we exercised it for him that first year, but he was one of the leaders in the D3 team and got a good look his next year, and has been really battling every day. He's one of our hardest workers, plays hard all the time. He'd be the first one to admit that he's not Crosby, he's not Bobby Orr, but at the same time he plays with a big heart, and I like having him as part of our team. This season he's played a lot at forward. It's easy to move a defense into forward, but we've got him back playing on defense this week, and I kind of like how he's looked so far.
I guess we'll talk with, obviously, most of your experience so far this year has been at forward, a defenseman, to the best of my knowledge, for the most part, growing up. So what has it been like for you so far this season at forward, making that change from defense to forward?
At the beginning it was a little rough going around. Still trying to learn my ways around the ice as a forward. Never really played that. Like you said, I played defense my entire life until this season. But it's been fun. Coaches definitely helped me out. Guys in the locker room give me pointers. So try and take whatever advice I can get and apply it in there. And then, so I'm not, like you said, I'm not the Crosby. I'm running around there aiming to hit people. So
definitely, but the players that we call them, the energy line are extremely important, and certainly David and Ryan Reed, another defenseman who's been moved forward to us, and Mike Falvey have been providing a lot of energy and making some offense happen. Going hard on the forecheck. So talk a bit about what the importance of having energy line players and players that buy into that role to the team.
Yeah, there are various days of the week we talk to players, we talk to units. Monday was our day where Coach McDonald and I met with each of the units, and they go by the colors of their jerseys. The red jerseys, the yellow jerseys, the gray jerseys. It used to be green, but they're gray now, and the black jerseys. And the guys wearing the black jerseys, that's the ones we've referred to off and on as the energy unit. The best, we told them the best role they can have is just upsetting the opponent and just forechecking them to death, staying out of the penalty box, and maybe drawing a few penalties on them against us just because we out-hustle them. And I like how the guys have looked this week. We've got a series this weekend to take a look at it a little closer, and then a full week of practice next week, 5 days of practice, before the national tournament. And I like how things are gelling, and I like how Elliston is looking back on D. I know I can always move him back to forward if I need to, but he plays with a lot of heart and soul. And at the end of the night, any games that he's been in, by golly, he's left it all on the ice.
As Coach mentioned, David, moving back to defense, obviously you'd be doing a lot less backward skating at forward this year than normal. So how's it been, making that transition back to playing defense after playing, 30 some odd games at forward?
It was a little rough the first practice, but getting back into it. I haven't skated backwards in I don't know how long, so it was a little bit more of a learning curve there, getting back in it, but having played that my entire life, I feel like it shouldn't be too hard. After probably one more practice, I should be good to go.
Certainly. With making that choice as a youngster to play defense, what was it that drew you to playing defense instead of, say, forward or even goaltender?
I'd probably say kids would like to go up and score, but I always like not getting scored on, so I would always stay back. And I don't know, coaches just kept putting me there, and I enjoyed it, so that's kind of how I ended up on D.
Turned out pretty well so far. All right, Cyclone fans, we have to take one more quick brief message before the final segment of the show. I'd like to remind you that the Cyclone Hockey Cheer Squad is holding the Little Cheer Clinic this Saturday, February 25th. It starts at 2 o'clock, goes to 4 o'clock at Forker Gym. I encourage you to go to www.cyclonehockeycheercamp.com for more information. All sorts of opportunity for your aspiring or budding cheerleader to pick up some tips from the Cyclone Hockey Cheer Squad and get a bunch of free goodies and also free admission at Saturday's game and be able to perform with the squad. So definitely encourage you to look more into that and hope to see you at the rink. So as we said, one more quick message, and after the break, we'll talk a little more with David Elliston, and we'll preview this weekend series against the Waldorf Warriors. So we'll catch you on the flip side of these brief messages.
Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right, welcome back, Cyclone fans, to this third and final segment of this evening's episode of the Al Murdoch Show. Kevin Way, your host here, joined again by Cyclone Hockey General Manager and Head Coach Dr. Alan Murdoch, and Cyclone forward/defenseman David Elliston. David, as Coach mentioned in the last segment, you come from the Omaha area, and before you came here, you played for the Omaha AAA team, and that's a program that's really taken off, and even now I'm starting to see players from that program directly out of it commit to NCAA D1 scholarships, and going on to other big things in the junior ranks. So talk a bit about the the growth or maybe the improvement of hockey in Omaha in recent years.
Oh yeah, we used to have two programs in Omaha, and they finally combined them past 2 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years back. And I actually have a couple of my buddies that I'm still good friends with are playing juniors, and I have a couple offers, so I'm glad for all my buddies. But yeah, it's been pretty cool to see the Omaha hockey taking off, as well as like the UNO Mavericks are doing pretty well now with Dean Blaze as their head coach. Yeah, it's just kind of cool to watch.
It's also for people watching from the Omaha area who might be tuning in later on this week online to watch David Elliston. Another big thing going on in the Omaha area, the Omaha Lancers, the USCHL team, getting a new arena. I guess what are your thoughts on that?
I haven't heard if where they were building it yet, but that'd be pretty cool. They've had a couple of arenas in the past like 3 or 4 years, but a new one would be nice to look at.
It's my understanding that the new arena is seat about 4,000 people, will be located in Papillion, close to where the old Oxarbin Arena was. So that'll be hopefully you'll have a chance, perhaps after you graduate, to check it out. But in the meantime, you'll be playing hockey for the Cyclones. Well, Coach, this weekend we've mentioned it a couple times, playing against the Waldorf Warriors for the final home series of the season. This Waldorf team, they've done pretty well in their first year. The coaching staff there's put together a good nucleus of players to make them fairly competitive on their schedule so far this year, even split with our D3 team this year. So talk a bit about this budding program and the potential that's there for both of our programs to be a rival with them.
You bet. In the big picture, I think there's 2,500 ice arenas in the nation, and my thought is, why not have a college team in every darn ice arena in the nation? Iowa's no exception. We've got 18, 20 ice arenas in the state of Iowa, and I think right now we've only got 8 or 10 college teams. So I'm always looking to help places like Mason City, and even though Albert Lee's just across the border, north of Iowa's border, getting college teams playing in that area. A good friend of mine who actually played against Iowa State back in 1976, Doug Ross. He played for Bob Johnson and the Olympic team. We played them in Hilton Coliseum. He went on to play pro hockey, college hockey, pro hockey, and became head coach at Huntsville, Alabama. He retired about 3 years ago, and his best buddy of all things became president of Waldorf College, and invited him to come up and say, hey, why don't we start a hockey program? And of course, Mason City and Albert Lee, got on the bandwagon. I said, hey, you can rent some ice time that you might not rent otherwise, and they started the program there a year and a half ago. Doug Ross came in. He bought all the gear. He started recruiting. He came to the high school tournament a year ago now that is being hosted in Ames again this year, to start recruiting high school players and players from the Minnesota Junior Hockey League and around. So they've got the semblance of a pretty good team. We don't want to take them too lightly, but at the same time, we want to help build hockey, and Waldorf College is a great addition to the college hockey ranks in the state of Iowa.
Obviously, Waldorf College, for most of their sports, are NAIA. NAIA does not have college hockey, so they've obviously chosen, to go the ACHA route, and there's the real chance that this program could become, a pretty good program. Their new head coach, Brett Shalansky, he's very active on the recruiting trail, so it wouldn't surprise me to see this team become, maybe as early as next year, 2 or 3 years, one of the top ACHA men's D2 teams in the country. So is this a team we could, have on the schedule in years to come if they keep following that track?
No question, and at the same time, they fit our schedule very well this year. Would love to have them back again next year, and if they keep growing, who knows, they may be a Division I ACHA team, and who knows, maybe an NCAA team down the road in the future. So we'll help them to a degree, but at the same time, we just want to make sure that they know that Iowa State's the top dog in the state of Iowa.
Obviously, a big part of the festivities this weekend, senior night. That'll include recognizing senior captain Brian Rooney. We also had seniors in the D3 team, Mike Siebold and Ryan Forstall, and also cheer squad members and staff members as well. So I guess you've been through a number of these. So I guess to you, what does senior night mean?
It's always a little bit bittersweet, in that it's the last hurrah for graduating seniors, and Brian Rooney's been a pretty good guy for us for 4 years. He's worked really hard. He's earned that letter C on his jersey. There have been times where he's been very easy to, I shouldn't say yell at, but raise my voice to create an impression, not only with him, but the rest of the team. And, we have kind of an understanding in that regard. Nobody will ever know, the whole deal on that, but at the same time, he's been excellent. So I think there's even going to be some Brian Rooney bobbleheads that people can sign up for a raffle on Friday night. And there'll be graduate cakes, and there'll be the leather portfolios that the seniors get. So it'll be a great night to come to the ice arena and say goodbye to Brian and, see the Cyclones for the last weekend at home.
Sure. Guess not too much time left in this episode. Any parting words before we go?
If you don't have anything on Friday night or Saturday night, I'd get out to the ice arena. I think there's going to be huge crowds. The game on Friday night is going to start a little bit later, maybe 8:15, maybe as late as 8:30, because we're playing that in conjunction with the state high school tournament. So as soon as the final game of the day gets over, whether it's 7 or 7:30 or 8 or 8:15, heaven forbid it goes into an overtime, fans be patient, because those are the ranks that we look for our future players, and we want to keep them playing hockey. It's been a great season. It's by no means over. Come out and see the Cyclones at home this weekend, and hey, it wouldn't be a bad migration to Cleveland here in a couple of weeks to watch it play at the national tournament. All of our sponsors have been absolutely great. One of the best ones of all is Pizza Pit. They're a major sponsor for Cyclone Hockey. As a matter of fact, I can smell a pizza coming in the door right now.
Absolutely. Well, fans, thanks so much for joining us. Hope we have one more show again next week, Tuesday. We appreciate you tuning in this week, and we'll see you at the rink. Good night.